20th century music discussion in itself, the issue of image.
It's an honor for us to watch you in this laboratory and see what your brain brings forward and what your fingers do out of it.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Sometimes it's Frankenstein, but I appreciate it too.
We love
it's
him.
fun
We love
to
him.
see.
Everybody says, I love Baroque music because it is nice. Everybody says, I love classical
I don't
music.
think I've been one of the people who said that.
But that's the image. I love classical music because it's nice. I love romantic music because it's nice. And then they come and say, yeah, but modern music, that is difficult because it's ugly. Is that true?
I'm often on the road asked by people, why don't we have a Beethoven today? Or why don't we have a Mozart today? And what they mean is, I think, why isn't there great music of heroic drama and fanfare like there was back then? What happened to that music today? Well, a lot of things happened to it. 2 world wars, the advent of serialism, the rise of postmodernity, the sexual revolution, all of those things have changed society, and because music is society, and it's society that generates the people who make its music, that music will always be of its time in some way. No matter what the moment that we're talking about, whether it's Bernstein, Bach, or the Beatles, the key to understanding all music is to understand that it is an individual experience, and that there is no right or wrong way to experience it.
We were talking about 12-tone music, and you said it's not just mathematics. It's as well the try to find emotions into a inside a strict form. And you referred to Alban Berg.
A few moments that stand out for me, just as a musician and as a listener, that are beautiful poetic moments. I'm searching for musical poetry and deep meaning. And I would play for you just a little bit of the first sonata of Alban Berg, one of the composers who was to practice and experiment with 12-tone applications and that methodology in a very different way than his contemporaries did. Something about it, for me, is so poetic and so tangible, and you don't have to know anything about Alban Berg or Vienna or 12-tone or Schoenberg or the whole lot of it to sense that poetry. A little bit of this music has something of the quality of something's coming, and this deep sense of unease. I don't find in the music of Mahler or Strauss, though I love those composers too. It's just a special thing that happened in music, and we would be very much amiss not to touch on it.
And there was Platon, who once said, if you change the rules of harmony, you change the rule of a political system. Is that perhaps a fear, really, of politicians, that music which distracts order is a sign of no order in society?
Well, yes, it is, and I think the corollary is even more true and probably more relevant to our time. That, in a sense, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If there's a kind of music that can be said to be anarchic, as I think there can, then it should follow that there are also kinds of music which would cause people to fall in line.
Where it starts actually was in the 20s, especially in Germany again, when music was really politicized by composers and poets as well. One couple of that was Brecht and Weil, who really considered themselves as a political force. And there was the Three Penny Opera by Bertolt Brecht and of course by Kurt Weill, which was a political statement. And of course taught somebody like Hitler that they have a power, because they were as well popular musicians.
Yes.
They did art and they, well, politically influenced and led the masses. And there is a song you have looked at. It's the Kanonen song. Perhaps you can show us on the piano
I'd love to,
what it is about.
Something about it seems to me almost klezmer in the harmonies. It's where you get this. Soldaten wohnen, this repetition of this figure, the marching, the inevitable marching of the soldiers, this beat that's not quitting. The harmonies are highly unpredictable and hard to manage. They're not typical pop song four on the floor sort of piano writing. Actually, if we're going to take it apart on the piano, it's not quite so cabaret. And yet it's dance music. So there's this inherent contradiction. On one hand, we're talking about sending people off to the meat grinder, turning them into beef tartare, and yet it's, it's this kind of, it's a cabaret thing.
You said, I mean, we are talking about the war and whatever. We will come to that, how it changed music. But how did the sexual revolution change music? What happened there?
Well, in a lot of ways. Obviously, one would be composers and particularly lyricists' ability to address sex and gender in their work. I'm amazed how often the idea of attraction and desire is symbolized by marriage, which itself, I think we can all agree, is not in and of itself a particularly erotic idea. There's a Gershwin song called Soon, which is all about this thing that's coming soon. Soon we will be able to enjoy each other. That's what that song is about. And you can hear it in the music too, and what happens, not just in the lyrics. Listen to how much of this is in the minor key. I don't think that it's actually marriage that they're talking about. They're talking about sex, but it was the 1920s, and you couldn't write it like Nicki Minaj and Drake can write it now. The day you're mine, this world will be in tune. Please let that day come soon. That's what these closing lyrics are. The singer doesn't have something yet that he wants. It's only going to happen if he's married. Come on, folks. I mean, this is we're talking about post-marital sex, the most erotic thing I guess they could write about at the time. I mean, this is pre-code days in Hollywood. So the way that sex and particularly women were treated in popular song is something you really have to look at if you want to understand. At least the treatment of women in American popular music right up to the present day.
And we came up with a postmodern times, which was going together with the idea that we don't have any ideas anymore. That everything has been said, every note and combination of notes has been done. We arrived in the history of music at noise again, as we have seen. Could you give an example of a homemade Carpenter postmodern idea piece? So what would you choose? What would you choose, and how would you put it together?
There are any number of pieces that kind of go like this. The color of the letter A. Is a color without a number. It's easy to make fun of, but those pieces are important because it's never possible to say any kind of human expression is illegitimate. It was always legitimate to the person who was expressing it, and we have to take that seriously.
This is a trick of the 20th century as well.
Yes.
That people started doing things. Like,
they didn't have iPads. Funny how it does work with an iPad. Yeah, actually the idea was that you could get originally alternative sounds out of, leave that one there, because we can, probably works better if it's this way. Slide it down this way, not on the screen, but yes, just exactly not.
well,
like
it's just
that.
a Steinway, you know.
Right, don't worry about it. And then up here is still a normal piano, and down here I have something like what John Cage would have done, a little bit.
Do you have anything to say to minimal music?
Minimalism is a kind of course you'd have to say a misleading term, because it doesn't sound minimal at all. It sounds oftentimes repetitious, or better, hypnotic. So here's a 6-note figure, and you could turn it upside down. And you could put those ideas together. And this could repeat in a number of cycles, in a number of ways, and one could have. Now this could go on for 20 or 30 seconds. We'll skip ahead though to a harmonic change. Remember, the stuff that's in my right hand though is remaining. So in a sense it's minimal, in the sense that it's the amount of material at hand is minimal. We don't have a melody. We have harmonies of a fashion. We have rhythm. We have rhythm in the figure, and we have rhythm of the harmonic change. There would be like maybe 16 repetitions before you'd get, I'm doing 8 now I think, before you get a change. And then you might have another change.
It was a great, great pleasure. Thank you for everything.
The pleasure's mine.